It's a global problem that's yet to be solved. A strategic axis that's become the Achilles heel of international trade in the throes of change. In 2023, the Panama Canal experienced one of the worst droughts in its history. This had consequences for global maritime traffic, with ship congestion and delivery delays. Although this year's mild weather seems to have brought some reprieve, its use remains lower than usual, seriously disrupting international trade. And while the problem's urgent, the solutions we've come up with don't seem to be very far-reaching. Above all, it'll take time for them to be effective. Time that Panama does not necessarily have. Indeed, the financial windfall represented by the canal's passage fees is beginning to make other countries take an interest, as they develop competing projects. Mexico, for example, is building an interoceanic corridor at breakneck speed, as we'll discover together in this new episode of Looking For. It's a storm warning that's not sparing many people across the world. On maritime trade routes, the main crossing points are under strain, from the Strait of Malacca to the Suez Canal. There's many reasons for this, from the overexploitation to piracy and the vagaries of the weather. This new situation also affects the Panama Canal, an 80-kilometer-long engineering marvel that's been linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans for over 100 years. This masterpiece of engineering, with its eventful history, has already been covered in depth in another video released on the channel a few months ago. I've included the video in the description, and I recommend you watch it if you haven't already. The first episode focuses on the history of the canal and its extraordinary operation, its crucial importance for Panama and world trade, and above all, its immense difficulties due to the drought of 2023. Water is needed to supply all the world's canals. So far, no worries. But for some, like Suez, the problem doesn't really arise because the canal's built at sea level. In Panama, the situation's different. The result of Homeric labor, the canal is 28 meters above sea level and operates with a marvelous system of locks that raise and lower the ships. All you have to do then is take the route formed by two man-made lakes. The main one, Lake Gadden, is fed largely by the Chagres River, and a second, Lake Alajuela, formerly known as Lake Madden. Both lakes are irrigated by inland rivers. But when drought strikes, this system struggles to cope. Every time a ship passes through, between 200 and 250 million liters of fresh water from the canal are lost to the ocean due to the operation of the locks. A problem made all the more vital by the fact that this freshwater reserve, through which almost 6% of the world's trade passes, also serves the local population. In all, more than 2 million people consume the water that feeds the canal, almost half the population of this Central American state. The water is also used for agriculture and power generation. The problem is economic. The canal brought in $2.5 billion for the state in 2022, making it the country's main source of revenue. Above all, droughts become a regular occurrence in recent years. 2016, 2019, and 2023 for the most recent episode. And to counter the effects of this phenomenon, the immediate solutions are few and far between. But before I reveal them, let me introduce War Thunder, the sponsor of our video. War Thunder is the most extensive vehicle combat game ever made, and is available now for free on PC and consoles. Take control of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. And if, like me, you can't get enough of customizing your vehicles, I highly recommend this game, as it features a comprehensive customization system with countless camouflages, historical markings, and decorations for all types of vehicles, including community-created ones. Dive into War Thunder's intense combat, where incredibly detailed vehicles, stunning graphics, and realistic sound effects put you in command of the most powerful war machines of our time. And if you don't have a state-of-the-art computer, don't worry. War Thunder runs on the in-house developed Dagor engine, which is heavily optimized to deliver a lag-free experience with impressive visuals and high frame rates even on lower-end machines. But that's not all. By playing War Thunder, you join a global community of over 70 million players in epic PvP battles today. With an unmatched wealth of high-quality content to discover, there's simply no game better suited for fans of military history. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox now by using my link in the pinned comment or video description. New players and those who haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack on all platforms, including multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of a premium account. This is a limited time offer, so don't lose time. Now back to the Panama Canal. To counter the repercussions of the drought on the Canal Authority took a drastic action. The main emergency measure taken is to drastically reduce the number of ships allowed on the canal. With only 22 crossings per day for a time last year, the canal had implemented restrictions unseen for over 30 years. This situation created a real bottleneck, with some ships having to wait more than 10 days. Other ship owners preferred to pay a multi-million euro right-of-way fee to get priority passage. Today, however, the situation's improving. The level of the lakes is rising, while the rainy season is due to last until November. The Canal Authority is also taking advantage of the situation to gradually increase the number of passages per day to 34 by the end of July, if the improvement continues. On the meteorological front, another piece of good news is the end of the El Niño weather phenomenon. This was an aggravating factor in the drought that affected the country in particular. But while the indicators are no longer totally in the red, vigilance is still called for. In the case of Lake Alajuela, the levels return to fairly reassuring standards. This is not really the case for Lake Gadden, the canal's main crossing point. It's risen by almost a meter in the space of a year, from 24 to 25 meters in depth, according to data supplied by the Panama Canal. However, its level's considered satisfactory at 26 meters. A meter's difference may seem minimal, but it's essential. To realize this, we need to go back to 2016. That was the year in which the final renovation work on the Panama Canal was completed. 10 years to build, among other things, new locks to accommodate some of the world's largest sea monsters, the Neo-Panamax. In addition to the locks, a huge amount of work was carried out on Lake Gadden to deepen its bed. On completion, the lake gained 50 centimeters in depth. Specialists point to the canal's extension in 2016 as the key to understanding the problems the infrastructure faces today. Although solutions have been studied since 2006, little's been done to increase the water supply. This is a necessity, given the need to widen and deepen lock sets to allow larger vessels to pass through, a situation that leaves the construction vulnerable to episodes of drought. To counter this crisis, the canal's trying to implement one-off measures such as cross-filling of locks to partially reuse water, and a compulsory reservation system to better manage flows. In the long term, management is also working hard. Last November, a first test was carried out to seed clouds, as revealed by the Bloomberg news site. The technique involves modifying the structure of clouds to encourage condensation and provoke precipitation, a method that's yet to prove its effectiveness. Another solution, surely the most widely promoted, is to build a dam to create a water reservoir large enough to maintain sufficient volume in the canal. The most widely publicized option is to dam the Indio River to the west of the canal. The reservoir would then be connected to Lake Gadden by a system of underground pipes some 8 kilometers long, an infrastructure costing between 1.5 and 2 billion euros, which would take at least 6 years to complete. And that's not counting the time needed for the water reserve to build up. Between 3 months, according to forecasts, this aquatic reinforcement should enable traffic to increase by 11 to 15 boats a day compared to its optimum use today, and also guarantee the population's supply of fresh water. A solution for some, but not necessarily good news for others. According to Bloomberg, thousands of people living in the region will see their land flooded to build the reservoir, and are already organizing resistance. Civil resistance should not be underestimated. Panama, for example, recently saw large-scale protests to block the renewal of a concession for a giant copper mine considered an ecological disaster. As a result, the authorities finally announced the closure of the mine, operated by Canadian company First Quantum Minerals. As far as the canal's concerned, the law has so far prevented the Canal Authority from extending its control to the Indio River. Elected on May 5th, the new president, José Raúl Mulino, announced that he would encourage the adoption of a law favoring the construction of a new dam. At the political level, another proposal was put forward by the former government last April. It involves developing a dry canal. This project is intended to complement the Panama Canal in transporting goods by means other than sea from one ocean to another. To this end, the dry canal is intended to be multimodal, making use of existing railroads, roads, airports, and other infrastructures. A decree providing for a new customs jurisdiction has also been promulgated. Its aim: to streamline and reduce formalities for the overland transport of goods. In fact, this dry canal option is already a reality, as the infrastructures used are already in service. Such is the case of Tocumen International Airport. Located 20 kilometers northeast of the capital Panama City, it's already considered the main airport hub in Central America and the Caribbean. It remains to be seen whether this land-based option, with its extra logistics due to transit, will be sufficient to continue attracting ship owners in times of drought. Panama obviously remains a strategic route today, saving days or even weeks of sailing by avoiding the bypass of South America and the perilous Cape Horn. But the country knows that it cannot rest on its laurels. If Panama's trying to multiply the number of possible solutions on the one hand and temporary solutions on the other, it's because the competition's starting to make itself felt. Some countries have already announced possible alternative routes, such as Colombia and Honduras. For the time being, most of these remain wishful thinking, but one is beginning to emerge. It lies a little further north, in Mexico. South of Mexico City, between the states of Oaxaca and Veracruz, an interoceanic canal is taking shape, as envisioned by the Mexican government. A 300-kilometer corridor through the Isthmus of Tehuantepec will link the two oceans. And the project is already well underway. In December 2023, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador inaugurated the first section of this new corridor. The rail line connects the ports of Salina Cruz on the Pacific side, which is currently being expanded, and Coatzacoalcos on the Gulf of Mexico. This route, which takes up an old railroad line, is largely dedicated to the transport of goods, rather than passengers. The aim is to offer a cheaper alternative to the Panama Canal. Mexico thus hopes to develop and industrialize this part of the country. The investment cost is nearly $3.2 billion. The transit time between the two ports is estimated at 7 hours, and the government hopes to see 1.4 million containers go through transit when the line is fully operational in 2033. This infrastructure is already attracting a great deal of criticism, from the illegal eviction of certain indigenous populations to its disastrous impact on the environment. As with the other solutions mentioned above, it remains to be seen how effectively such an infrastructure will be used by global trade players. As for the Panama Canal, a return to normal conditions is anticipated for 2025, if rainfall is sufficient. We've come to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play it for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox now by using my link in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across all platforms, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. Available for a limited time only, so make sure not to miss it. In the meantime, I'll see you soon on Looking For.